Mr. Mayor, we do have a quorum.
Excellent. All right, well, I will call to order the Pickering School Building Committee. Roll call, please.
Mayor Nicholson,
Present.
Dr. Alvarez,
Present.
Mr. Bertino, Member Castellanos, Councilor Chakoudas, Mr. Donovan,
Present.
Ms. Drago,
Present.
Member Gately,
Present.
Ms. Gerardo, Mr. Kolokitis,
Present.
Councilor LaPierre, Mr. Makua,
Present.
Mr. Mannion,
Present.
Mr. Marlin,
Present.
Mayor McGee, Councilor Meany, Ms. Miller,
Present.
Ms. Philbrook,
Present.
Mr. Ridley,
Present.
Ms. Ruggiero,
Present.
and Mr. Smart. All right, so we do have a quorum. Share my screen. Should all be able to see that now? So we've got the normal administrative actions to go through. We'll give you a very quick procurement update. Then we'll launch into sort of the meat of the meeting, which will be a discussion about the supportive excavation and ground improvements. Fill you in as to what has transpired since our last meeting. Then we'll talk about project schedule and close with our upcoming SBC meetings. And something that I mentioned, sorry, is a little aside. We did get approval from the MSBA for the new Pickering SBC roster, which does include Renee Philbrook, so she's a voting member starting tonight. First order of business are the meeting minutes from the January 15th meeting, which were sent around last night.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Lynn, are you out there?
I am. Good evening, everyone. So for the project budget, we've committed 34% of the full budget, and we've expended 15% to date. We're almost done with our bid phase. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Next. So in terms of cash flow, we're behind in cash flow, and that predominantly has to do with the fact that we've kind of slowed construction down significantly. Also is a result of our starting later than we had originally planned for our cash flow.
So for our procurement schedule, the upcoming steps, or the completed step most recently, was the pre-GMP for the thermal wells, geothermal wells, and the long lead equipment has been completed. The pre-GMP for the trade contractors is in progress and expected any day, and the draft GMP for the whole project, including all the scope, we're anticipating in a few days. Any questions about that?
We do have our electrical bid protest that is February 20th. We have some rumblings from one of the resilient flooring contractors about a potential bid protest that we're trying to work through and avoid currently. But again, those are due on the 14th.
Lynn, can I ask a question?
Yes.
The electrical contractor, what is the protest about and what's involved with it?
Has to do with paragraph E work and, about who they listed for paragraph E work, whether it was themselves or a vendor. And there was back and forth about whether or not one of the groups could list themselves, whether it was fell under the category of parts and smarts where they didn't have to list them. So it's just arguments back and forth on how paragraph E was listed.
And how does this come to a resolution?
So we have a protest hearing with the Attorney General's office on the 20th. The city, we're working on a position statement. Both Anise Electrical has written a position statement as well as Griffin. Those were the two initial protests. We also have the low bidder Interstate, who's represented by an attorney and who has also written a position statement. Those get sent to the Attorney General's office in advance of the 20th. And they will review them and we will hear everybody out on the 20th.
Thank you.
So I just want to give you a quick update of where we've been since we stopped the vibratory work on site. As you know, early in January, I think it was January 8th, we stopped installing the ground improvements because there was a noticeable or significant vertical and lateral settlement of the supportive excavation. When we were installing the deeper rammed aggregate piers near the west wall, which was adjacent to the Sisson Elementary School. There was cracking that occurred inside the Sisson School due to this ground movement. So we had the structural engineer, EDG, come out and assess the cracks and confirm that there was no structural or imminent danger for any of the occupants in the building. The building is a concrete framed structure and the cracks were limited to the interior non-bearing walls. The cracks are currently being monitored daily and there's been no further movement detected. As I said, we paused the vibratory work until we could evaluate the SOE design, but also more importantly, to take a look at suitable alternatives for the foundation support before we proceeded forward with additional vibratory work. So as we last several weeks, we've been looking at viable alternatives for the foundation support solutions. Also, the city has engaged a third-party reviewer, Simpson, Gumpert, and Hager, as well as consigli hiring a third-party reviewer, Haley and Aldridge. These two firms have been working in collaboration with the delegated design engineers and the geotechnical engineer on the project. We do have the most highly respected geotechnical engineers in the business looking at this. So we have come up with several alternatives and solutions. We're going to look a little deeper at three of them that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But right now we are waiting on some additional testing called the cone penetration testing that will help inform us as to what the best solution is or what we can actually move forward with. So this additional testing takes a specialized rig. So we're waiting on that to come to the site. We were hoping that maybe it would be here next week, but it's looking like we have a guarantee for the week of the 24th. Anyway, we're still keeping our fingers crossed we can get it sooner than later because every day does count. Once we have this additional information, we will bring all the engineers and the project team together to try to decide on what the best path forward is.
I put this, excuse me, I put this slide in here just for context again. The supportive excavation is that this green dashed line, which goes around 3 sides of the building. And the area where can you all see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, in the area where the rig was operating when the ground movement occurred was in this corner here, sort of the western corner. And then Brandon, do you want to refer to this slide or move right on to the other slides?
I guess before you move off this, I do want to highlight that although we've all been working through this downtime and the ground improvements issue, we have, if anyone's noticed, continued to work on site. So there was a lot of drainage, water lines, and now some detention systems we're going to be starting in the next 2 weeks that we had originally planned to be, I'll call it on our way out of the project in 2026 that we pulled in. They weren't going to be feasible now with our logistics for concrete and steel, but we are still pushing and doing whatever we can do in this time frame. So we're not just sitting idle. There's a lot of stuff going on with the site work subcontractor to get things done that were supposed to be done later on. So I just want to highlight that while we're on this slide here. If you want to jump to the next one, Craig. So just a quick highlight, like Lynn mentioned, cone penetration testing, CPT. Wanted to show a quick look at what that rig looks like. Like she said, right now we have a commitment of the week of the 24th. There's one rig that we've been able to find that's even in the Northeast United States. It's currently in Central Mass. That company's out of New Jersey, and before they leave, they have that job to finish in Central Mass. And before they head back to New Jersey, we have them committed to come here whenever that day is, the week of the 24th, so we can get this testing done. So the idea of this is we want to do testing in the areas where we have improved the ground before the stoppage, and in areas that we have not improved the ground. At this point, we need to get the most accurate data for what the soil properties are right now, because there really needs to be the analysis by all these design professionals of the untouched areas with the touched areas, as it'll play into the next few slides of the solution options that we're working through. So Craig, if you want to jump to the next. So while we've been dealing with all these professionals and options are getting thrown around, we've come up with 3 potential solutions that I'll walk you through, and we've built schedules out for each one. So option A, which is the no further install of ground improvements, no matter what, just like the other options, is pending this CPT test and the analysis the week of the 24th. It would allow us to restart our work on the 3rd of March right now, which is an aggressive date, but that's what we're pushing hard for. That would be right into footing prep and then followed immediately by foundations. You'll also notice we have start install of bracing for the impacted SOE. No matter what we do, one of the things we need to do to mitigate the issue that we already saw with the sheets moving is we need to provide some temporary bracing to support it. So that where that falls in the schedule shifts a little bit depending on the option, but it is something we need to do. And then I'm showing here the structural steel starting May 9th, which does push our certificate of occupancy from the end of December to February 16th of 2027, with building move-in able to happen during that February vacation. Option B that we've come up with is the install of what we're calling shallow or 0 to 10 foot wraps. There'd be some design modifications potentially to the structure, mostly with concrete footings with this solution, and then we'd have a much more enhanced monitoring program than what we all initially thought we would need if we do continue with any sort of ground improvement install and that vibratory work. So again, this all starts with that CPT testing and analysis the week of the 24th. Restart our ground improvements work again on the 3rd. We have about 2 weeks worth of ground improvements for these shallower or slab type wraps that we would put in throughout the building, completely monitor the entire time based on a program being developed by H&A and SGH. Structural steel would start at the end of May. Certificate of occupancy the 1st week of March, which the next downtime for the school would be an April vacation 2027 move-in. And the last solution here, very similar, but it has what we're calling 0 to 23 foot ground improvement elements. So this is still shallower than what we were working on when we had this issue, because we had elements up to 42 feet. So this is still a more conservative approach from a ground improvement standpoint than what we previously had, but it is more aggressive than the others. CPT testing again, 224, ground improvements 3.3 till 3.13, structural steel shows the end of May, certificate of occupancy almost around the same time on March 4th, and then again April vacation 2027 would be the next downtime for the school to move in. So we just wanted to put this in front of the whole group here, show you we're trying to figure out all the options, go through the schedules, what could happen once we get this CPT data and everyone gets together as a group with all the design professionals and we figure out what the best path forward is for the project. We are working in the background to figure out how we navigate it and what's the best kind of end goal we can get to as a group.
Do people have any questions before we just look at the overall project schedule?
Yeah, Lynn, I'm wondering if maybe Brendan, you can explain what is the data that you're looking for? I know that you said you're looking for soil qualities, but kind of like what are the specifics that would allow for option A, so to speak?
So essentially what we're trying to do is reconfirm what the soil modulus is. Essentially what is to make it very simple, what's the strength of the soil? So one style of testing was done during all the pre-construction. This is another style that the folks who've been brought on board, a different type of test that takes a few different data points than the initial borings. And it's more so about the timing. So we need to understand what the currently improved areas look like, because right now that's an estimate based off calculations of the old soil data along with the engineering associated with the installed ground improvements. And we want to make sure we know how that area is going to react directly adjacent to the areas if we weren't going to have ground improvements. So all this data is going to inform essentially the settlement that we're assuming for the entire building. And if this data comes back, let's say better than where we would think it has been based on previous data, there may be an opportunity if the entire project team sees fit that we could forego ground improvements if we see better data than we're expecting, essentially.
Also, we're worried about differential settlement between the areas that have been improved and the areas that have not. So we need to understand that so that we can even know this other option of no more ground improvements is viable.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Brandon, who was the testing agent on the first testing during pre-con?
That was all done through Terracon.
Okay.
I'd have to double check who exactly they hired to do that, Flory, but I know that was all done through the geotech at the beginning of the project and part of their geotech report.
So Lynn, just asking a question here. So if the testing result comes in and it's far off compared to the original testing, that in a negative way, how do we hold them responsible? Is there anything we can do here? Is that too early?
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
exactly how to answer that question.
All right, that's
at this
fine. That's
moment.
fine. Let's just let's wait until
But I do think everybody is working hard to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
understand. All right.
I think that it's not that the borings are inaccurate. I
Sure.
think it's what we actually did to the soil and what happened as a result of what we did to the soil that we have to evaluate at this point.
Okay. All right. Maybe we'll ask this. I can ask this question again in the future.
Right, yeah.
With a better answer. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so just a quick overview. I did take the overall project schedule that we've been looking at every meeting and show the two extended dates for the opening of the new school, being the after February break and after April break. But for the most part, with this just extension of a couple of months of additional construction time, we think everything else will run smoothly.
Upcoming milestones, as mentioned, we've got the draft GMP anticipated in a few days. Our next SBC meeting is scheduled for March 12th, and then after that will be April 16th. And those are sort of the big things we have coming down the pike.
One thing I did want to say is that the project team did inform the MSBA of what has been happening on site, and they've been asking questions and asking for data to kind of look at it themselves as well. So they are aware, and we'll keep them updated and moving forward.
Just a quick question on my end. The filed sub bids, is there a list in what their bids are? Is that public knowledge right now?
Yes, it is.
Where is that? I didn't see it, so.
It, would you like to pull it up and show it?
Is it in the
available
package?
publicly under Project Dog. That's who we used for the online bidding.
Okay,
So you just go in and go to the Pickering Middle School project, City of Lynn, and you should be able to look at the file subbids in all the categories or in specific trade categories, however you want to look at it.
okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions, Greg. I can't find my hand. I'll get it the next time, okay? Brandon, I'm just wondering, you mentioned something about you're continuing to work, but you're working on, is it like where the parking lot would be, getting all the runoff out of the parking lot? So would we see an improvement this spring if we have big rainstorms?
I'd say not necessarily. It all depends on timing that we get fully tied in and what exactly dumps into those areas. So I know a lot of the designed detention systems that we're going to be working on takes water that would be going on to like the roof of the new building.
Yep.
So you might see some sort of difference, but I wouldn't expect much to be visual quite yet. And we're also still going to have a temporary condition with in terms of asphalt and final coatings and grass areas. So it's unfortunately one of those things on the job it gets a lot of work gets done, but you don't really get to see it when you're doing the site utilities, but it is still getting a lot of work in place.
I know you've seen the pictures of people canoeing over Magnolia Road, right? You've seen that. Like there's a lot of water sometimes that comes down, and anyone from Lynn knows that. But like, I think we will see a difference. I'm not sure. The other thing was with the construction, like where that that west end is affecting the Sisson with the inside cracks. Do you know what I'm saying? You're saying that I don't have a pointer to point to, but you said the weakness was over there. How did you try to fix that up? Because I have a lot of concerned people in Sisson.
So I guess when we were first notified of the event, we had all the design professionals from the project go into the building, and they took a walk around the outside, looked at the basement. They have all confirmed that anything that was seen from a damage perspective was all cosmetic to the interior CMU walls.
Okay.
And there is no issue with the structural integrity of the building, and it's completely safe. So what we are doing is monitoring those cracks with a crack monitoring gauge that kind of looks like a sticker that goes over those cracks. And photos get taken of those to make sure that nothing's shifting or moving any further, and we've yet to see any further movement. So the reason that we are in this delay and that we're taking so much time and there's so many more people and entities now involved is to make sure that whatever decision we do make as a group is not going to have any further impact to the people working in Sisson or living in the surrounding homes. So that is the utmost priority to everyone working on this problem right now.
Yeah, that's the same with the city. We're living with Classical, and there was a lot of shifting of plates, things that I really don't understand that happens underneath that can't be happening here.
We
Can't go
certainly
through the same
understand
thing.
that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lynn. Thanks, Craig.
So Craig, I can share where we are with the bidding if you want me to,
Yes,
or
that'd
if
be
you
great.
have it.
I found our internal form, but I wasn't able to put my hands on the, that full table.
So, Tom, if you were to go to the Project Dog website, you would see all the bidders listed that made bids. And as you can see here, we have, they're listed by trade type in the second column, and they're listed in order of low bid to high bid. And it's for all of the trades that we receive bids on. We are, again, you should see on there now the ones that we accepted, and we rejected all of the resilient flooring ones, and you'll see that be in active bidding again right now, and the bids being due on the 14th. The same with the electrical. We did not reject it, but they are on hold until after we get a ruling from the AG after the bid protest hearing. And
Obviously, myself being a union person, I'm very partial. I know Interstate and Griffin have spent a long career, in competition with those two contractors. So what is it called, Lynn? Project Dog?
Project Dog, and it's all spelled together.
Okay, and it's Dog, just D-O-G?
Yes.
So
Okay.
Tom, after this meeting, what I can do is I can send a link around to the committee, and I'll include the project code or the project number so that you can easily find it on that website.
Great,
And
that's, I appreciate it.
I don't know if you can see this one or not, but this
Yeah.
is where we ended up with the low bidders in each category. So we have seen some savings, and it'll depend on whether or not we actually are allowed to keep the low bid, because I think the next low bid was about $1 million off. And it'll also depend on what the resilient flooring bids come back at, and what the low bid is on that again. But some were over, some were under, but overall we did have some savings, in which hopefully will allow us to get through the protest and the rebidding of resilient flooring without exceeding our bid, our budget.
Yeah, and I know, we've been made aware of this from the city's perspective and our procurement team, and there does appear to be some issues with the electrical bid in terms of how it came back, and our understanding is that the Attorney General's office has asked to move forward with a hearing because they see a broader precedent here with the way the bids are, so that's the direction that we've been given. So before we leave, I also just want to thank the project team for jumping on this rammed aggregate pier issue and the groundwork. I think we're all disappointed to see the timeline have to shift, but I think we all know how important it is that we get this right now in the beginning, and see that as the real priority. And I know it's taken a lot of work and I'll get a lot of folks around the table. But it's so important we do have the right folks and we do have the right approach, and appreciate everyone's patience and commitment as we work through this. As you can see, I think it's encouraging that there are now multiple potential solutions, which is certainly shows some light at the end of the tunnel here, and hopefully we'll very quickly get that confirmed in terms of the right solution with this data from the boring, and we'll be full steam ahead, knowing that we were able to address a serious problem that will set the project up for future success. So thank you to everybody for all your work on that. All right, seeing no further business, open to a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
All in
Second.
favor? Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Right.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Well.